Have you ever experienced a serious loss and began going through a grief process? The loss may have been the death of a loved one, the loss of a relationship or divorce, the loss of a job. What all these losses have in common is that it plunges you into the natural healing process called the grief process. There have been 5 stages that have been identified as the healing process or the grief process. And the first stage is denial. And the emotions that go with that is shock and numbness. And you can't believe that this loss really happened. And if it was a person, you think you could call them and speak to them one more time. The second stage of the grief process is anger. And the emotions that go with that is anger, frustration, and sometimes rage. You may be angry at yourself, or angry at another person, or angry with God. Anger is a natural part of the healing process. The third stage is the bargaining stage. And the emotions that go with bargaining is guilt and shame. We like to call the bargaining stage the if only stage. If only I would have done this, it wouldn't have happened. If only the doctors would have treated them like this, it would not have happened. And we get accompanied with guilt and shame when we ask the if only questions. And the fourth stage is the pain stage. It's deep sadness, a heavy heart, depression, feeling lonely, my heart hurts. And believe it or not, that is a natural part of the healing process. You must embrace it, you must give voice to it, you must externalize it in a safe community, and then you will move through the healing process. And the fifth stage is acceptance. And the emotions that go with that is a sense of peace and forgiveness. Peace with the loss, forgiveness of those that may have contributed to the loss, and a letting go and coming to a place of healing and acceptance. What you need to realize is that the grief process is a process. It is not an event. It's a process that you go through, just like if you cut your arm and you began to bleed, your body would have an automatic process it would go to start healing that wound. It would send white blood cells, it would start coagulating, it would start scabbing. And as long as you take care of the wound, it'll heal fine. And it is the same with the grief process, that you go through these different stages of denial and anger and bargaining and pain and acceptance. And if you take care of the process, you will move through it fluidly and you will heal from that loss. And if you run from the process, or if you do not take care of the process, you will stay stuck in the process. And you don't want to get stuck in anger or depression or guilt or shame. You want to get to a place of peace and forgiveness. What are the 3 attitudes you need to adopt in order to swiftly move through the grieving process? Attitude number 1 is to be mentally alert. To be alert to what stage you're in the grief process, to be alert to what's going on emotionally on the inside, to be alert that grief is a season, just like winter, it comes and it's there for a time and then it goes. The second attitude you need to adopt is to be emotionally vulnerable. You need to be able to be aware of where you are emotionally and to communicate that to others who can receive you and love you through the process. It's very important to communicate your sadness, your anger, your guilt, your shame, your loneliness in order to move through it. You will either talk it out or you will act it out. And it's much better to talk it out instead of acting it out because you move through the process. The third attitude you need to adopt is spiritual dependence. You need to spiritually become dependent on the Lord. There is a very big difference between grieving with God and grieving without God. When you grieve with God, it leads to hope. When you grieve without God, it leads to despair. And my promise to you is as you get older and you learn to properly grieve, you will become better and not bitter. My hope for you is that you will embrace the grief process, you will embrace these three attitudes, and you'll come to a place of full healing and restoration and peace and forgiveness and a place of deep healing. God bless you.